Hey everyone, Kirsten here, and I wanted to share my St. George 70.3 race that happened this past weekend. It was the very last St. George 70.3 that they are having. So that was a very tearful goodbye for me because I have been to 13 of the races that they've held in St. George since 2010. So um, it was bittersweet. I'm sure I'm going to find another amazing place to race, but St. George has been kind of a second home to me over the past few years. I typically go there at least one or two other times during the year to do training, and I'm really going to miss it. So I was excited to be part of the very first race there in 2010 and then part of the last race in 2025. So I'll be honest, I had a great race overall. It's an amazing race. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. I'll be honest, I was really my goal, I wanted to win my age group because I've won there the last 2 years. And I was like 3 times in a row the last year. It's going to be so amazing. And I was feeling super fit, super ready. I was prepared to get a faster time than I did last year because my training was going really well. All my milestones I hit all said that I was definitely going to be faster than last year. And so I went into the race feeling confident and strong, nailed my taper 100%, changed up my nutrition a little bit, nailed nutrition. I never felt nauseous or I never felt under nutriented or over nutriented as far as electrolytes and calories. So everything went really well. So woke up race morning. If you haven't done this race, it's point to point. So you bus to the start. And the day before you drop off all your equipment, I had pumped up my tires, gotten everything ready. I get to transition race morning and my front tire was low. And I'm like, oh, I just pumped it up. What's going on? But it was also very hot. And then it got a little chillier throughout the night. So sometimes that messes with your pressure of your tires. So I went and pumped them up. I actually went to the mechanic and there was a really long line and he was like, nothing I can do, just pump them up, you'll be fine. So I was like, okay. So I re-racked my bike, went and started. And one of my main things, I've talked about this on my race reports before. I've had some anxiety attacks on the swim. So I've been really proactive in trying to not have that happen this year. So a couple things I did leading up to the race. I did my regular like visualization, relaxation, stuff like that. But the day before the race, we went out to the res and I put on my wetsuit and I jumped in the water and I swam as fast as I possibly could for like a couple minutes to try to mimic what typically triggered my anxiety and my attacks. And nothing happened. So I was kind of thinking about, okay, what's different in this situation? Obviously, it wasn't a race situation. I was the only one. Well, I wasn't the only one there, but there wasn't people around me. The energy was a lot different. The water I practiced in was a little more shallow, so I could see the bottom. Thought maybe that was it, but not really sure. But that gave me a little confidence knowing that I could jump in the water. I was kicking really hard and moving fast, trying to trigger a response, and it didn't happen. So I was like, okay, well, that's a good sign to me. And then the night before the race and the night before that leading up to it, I actually did some hypnosis, listened to some hypnotherapy that had to do with anxiety attacks and being anxious. So I was hoping kind of to get that into my subconscious a little bit. I did what I normally do with the breathing and just calming down and keeping myself calm. And then I got to the swim start and it was really crowded in the corral, which normally it isn't, but a lot of people were coming through to the front that definitely shouldn't have been coming to the front. Just so you guys know, the reason they do the swim start as a rolling start is so that you're around the people who swim your same speed. So if you do a 30-minute swim, you should line up with the 30-minute swimmers. And that did not happen. I probably passed at least 50 people who thought they were faster swimmers or decided they wanted to just leave early. So don't do that. So anyway, while I was in the corral, I started getting really anxious because it was really crowded and I couldn't breathe and everyone's energy was so high and it was race energy. So we were in the corral a long time. So I spent the time in there relaxing, calming myself, bringing my heart rate down. So I think that was helpful as well. They were playing good music. So I was kind of singing along to the songs, just kind of like staying in my own little world, which I think was helpful. And then the other thing I did differently is I took absolutely no um, caffeine at all in the morning. So normally when I race, I like to drink caffeine in the morning because it helps me go to the bathroom. And I was like, nope, no caffeine. Let's see if that helps. So no caffeine. Um, and calm myself down before I got in. I did also what I always do. I don't run out of the chute. I walk. I don't dive into the water. I just dip into the water and I start swimming very, very slow. So to the first buoy, I just kind of like took some long, deep breaths, really slow, long strokes. And by the time I got to the first buoy, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel bad at all. I feel actually really good. So then I started swimming my regular swim. When I got to the turnaround out furthest away from shore, is if I don't have a panic attack, then I start to pick it up. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to go really fast. I started swimming a lot faster and got way too hot. And I felt like I was almost going to start feeling panicky. So I slowed back down. The water was way hotter than I thought it was going to be. I've done St. George. I've swam in that water 13 races. And this was definitely the hottest. Normally the water's like high 50s. When I first started doing the race, it was more like mid 50s, but lately it's been high 50s. Last year it got into the low 60s. This year it was 66 degrees, which is typically my floaty pants where I don't want to wear a whole wetsuit, where I just want to wear my floaty pants. But I had no idea it was going to be this hot because it wasn't the week before. It was like 62. So I figured that's what it would be race day. So I didn't even bring my floaty pants. So I got really hot in the wetsuit. So I just slowed down and just took it in at my just moderate effort. So my swim felt really good. I was just so, so grateful I didn't have a panic attack and finished the swim, sprinted up to my bike because I was feeling good. My heart rate wasn't too high and get to my bike and my front tire was low again. And I was like, no, I just pumped it up like an hour ago. So I was really freaked out about that because panic attack on the swim is my first fear. Second is crashing on my bike because I've had a couple really bad crashes over the years and it's scary, right? It's scary thinking that you're going to crash on your bike. So I'm like, oh crap. So I stopped at the mechanic tent on the way out and I told them what happened and they were like, yeah, there's nothing really we could do. We could just pump it up for you. And I was like, oh, this is so scary because if you know anything about St. George course, it's very, very hilly and there's a lot of downhill. And that both my crashes I've had both my bad crashes I've had have been on downhill. And downhill makes me a little nervous anyway. And there's a lot of downhill on this course. So I was kind of, I went in with a little trepidation on the bike. I was constantly looking down at my front tire, seeing if it looked too flat, then it would like look kind of flat. So I'd stop and feel it and it didn't feel too bad. So I'd start going again. So it was a little bit nerve wracking. So I just spent the whole bike ride talking to my bike, talking to my tire. I was actually blowing it up with my mind. I was using the force. I was like in my aero bars going, blowing up. I'm blowing up my bike tire, blowing up my bike tire. So at the first aid station, I stopped, checked it. It was low. So I pumped it up. I keep my tires at 80 and it was getting down to about 60. And I think the first aid station was maybe 10 miles. So I was like, okay, if I can stop at every aid station and it's only down to 60 and I can pump it back up, it's not going to be bad. So that's what I did. There's 4 aid stations. So I stopped 4 times to pump up my tire. Like I said, it would only go down to about 60. So I didn't feel unsafe, but I didn't feel 100% confident and safe. So on the downhills, I was a little more timid, which kind of sucked because I was feeling really physically fit. So on the uphills, I crushed it. I was blowing by everybody. And then on the downhills, I was just a little nervous that my tire would blow or whatever. So when I saw 55 miles out of 56, I was so happy. that my bike held up. So happy. Oh my gosh. I was saying bike mantras the entire time. I don't even remember the bike course. I don't remember seeing anything. I don't remember talking to people, seeing people, because I was really focused on just making sure my bike stayed upright, making sure my tire had some air in it the whole time. So I was grateful to be off the swim and off the bike. I didn't care what else was about to come. I knew it was going to get really hot on the run. Didn't even matter. I just wanted to be safe. So once I was off the bike, I ran through transition. I've been taking my time in transitions my last few races, just to make sure I have everything. I don't need to be rushed. It's okay. So I rinsed off my feet. I actually had a bottle of water on my bike. So that's one thing I did. I knew it was going to be in the 90s for the race. I kept a bottle of water on my bike, and I just constantly just kept myself wet. I didn't want to ever even get warm. So it's right from the first aid station, I was just wetting my body down to stay ahead of the game as far as heat. The other thing I did that was a little bit different on the bike is I changed my nutrition plan. So I've been drinking Infinite, which has some protein on the bike. And I did that because that's what I would do for my full Ironman distance. But now I'm just doing halves. And I was thinking about it and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try no protein. Like, I don't think I need protein for a 5.5 hour race. So I also switched to a new company called Flow just to try it out. And I really liked it. So what I did was I raced with 3 bottles of Flow on the bike. And then I had some of the Flow chews. And it felt like enough. It was about, I think it's about 400 and something calories per bottle. And that was perfect for me on the bike. The bike took me, my swim took me about 32 minutes, which is what I think the same as last year. And it's pretty common for my swim's always between 30 and 32 minutes. That's just I guess if I sprinted and went harder, I could do it. But having those panic attacks, I'm just like, you know what? I'm happy with 32 minutes. My transition was a little bit longer, T1, because I did stop at the mechanics tent. They pumped up my tire. I was a little nervous. Like, I kept feeling it when I was going out. And then my bike was 256, I believe, which is one of my slower bike rides for St. George. And I stopped a lot, and I don't usually stop at all on the bike. So it was fine because I was just really happy to be off the bike. My T2, I think, was like 3 or 4 minutes. So pretty standard for my transitions. My gut felt great, which is good because sometimes starting the run, it feels a little gurgly, and I felt really strong and ready to run. If you've done St. George before, you know it starts with a 2-mile uphill, and then it kind of uphill downhills for a while, and then it goes 2 miles downhill, and then you repeat that. And I've done this course a ton of times. I know it. I was prepared for it. I went out. I stayed at about a 6 out of 10 for effort for the first 3 miles because I wanted to just kind of get my body used to running. I also used the Flow for my run, and I put it in a little flask. So I had it as kind of like a gel. So I just squeeze some and drink water. I walked through all the aid stations, which I normally do, and made sure to, again, stay super wet, ice up. I always had ice down my front, ice down my back, ice in my hands. They had a hat dip where you could take off your hat, scoop up ice, put it on your head. I did that at every aid station. So I stayed on top of the heat because I knew it was going to be hot. And so my first 5K felt great. Like I said, I kept it like a 6 out of 10 for effort. And then I decided to pick it up a little bit. And then the hills got a little bit steeper and there's some downhills. So I did pick it up to more of like an 8 out of 10 effort. Coming into the first, after the first loop, I actually felt really good. And when I left, when I was first running out, somebody I knew was on the sidelines and they're like, "You're in 3rd place." And I was like, "Oh, sweet. I'm in 3rd place," which I wasn't sure how I would be after that bike ride because I knew it was slower, because I had to stop a lot. And so I just didn't know. So I was really pumped. And I figured if I just keep running at my pace, because I felt strong, even if I passed someone and then someone else passed me, I really wanted to make the podium. That was like my first goal was to win. Next goal level down would be top 3. Next goal level down would be top 5. And then I wanted to get a faster time than last year. So second half of the run, I actually felt really strong. I was probably running like an 8 out of 10. And I knew that if I got to mile 10, the majority of the last 3 miles are downhill. So I was taking in my nutrition. I added a couple Morton gels. I felt like I was a little bit crampy, but not as bad as I have been in my past 2 years of racing, where I've actually gotten some cramps in the past couple of years. So that was a big win. Oh, I had 4 pickle juices. So I kind of spaced those out every 3 miles. I'm like, you have a pickle juice every 3 miles. It was my like reward to myself. And then I just stayed moving, ran the whole thing other than walking the aid stations, and just felt really strong. It's really hard to tell in a rolling start where you are in conjunction with where other people are, because some people might have started 10 minutes before you or 10 minutes after you. So somebody might go blowing by you, but they started before you. So if you can like stay on them, then it's hard to tell. So I had no idea where I was. But on my second loop, the same girl who yelled out, "You're in third place," she's like, "You're in second place." I was like, "Oh, I passed someone." So I just figured if I kept up with my same pace, I would still probably podium. And I felt strong the whole time. And the last couple miles, I tried to push it, but when I try to go a little too hard at the end, then that's when I feel like I could cramp, and I don't want to risk that, because I've done that before and ended up laying on the ground. So I just kind of stayed right on that line of this is as fast as my body can go right now, and finished, felt very, very strong. I'm really happy with my race. I never felt like I was too hot. I never felt like I was under electrolyted or under nutritioned or under caloried. I feel like I executed my race plan exactly as planned, and I feel like my body performed at exactly where I knew it would based on my training. My only thing that kind of stunk was my bike tire. It's flat right now. So I think it's the nozzle. I'm going to take it into the bike shop at some point in the next week when I have some time. But I think the nozzle was just leaking a little bit, and I tried to tighten it. I tried to loosen it, but if I touch it, it kind of leaked air. And so one of the things I'm considering, and I don't know, I'll have to ask around to see people's opinion. So if you guys have an opinion, I'd love to know it. Should I just go back to using tires with tubes? Because if this had happened race morning, that my tire was flat, it wasn't flat, it was just low, but it was pumped up the night before, I would have just changed the tube if it was a tube tire, but it's tubeless, and I can't even get my tire off the wheel because it's on there so tight. And then the nozzle thing, I don't know how to, if it's already set up for tubeless, to put a tube in it in any amount of time that would go really fast. So I don't know. I'm considering just going back to tubes, because I could have changed my tire in 2 minutes and not have thought about it the entire ride, not have had to stop 4 times, and and I could go crazy bombing the downhill because I would have had more confidence in my bike. So I would love to hear your opinion on that, because I have no idea. So anyway, I finished, felt strong. I was really happy to be done, because I was a little stressed about both the swim and the bike once I found out that my bike had a little bit of an issue. So just happy to be done. I gave it all I got. I ended up 5 minutes slower than last year. I figured with the bike issues, that's fine. That's checks out. And I ended up second place in my age group. So I was really happy about that as well, because that got me on the podium. It's an awesome accomplishment to be up there with some amazing fast women. The women who were first and third in my age group were both from Germany. So they weren't. So this is what I do. So I always, if you've ever like talked to me, you know, I always do this. I always try to make myself a winner, just give me confidence, make me feel good. So I was like, okay, I got second in my age group, but I was the first American in my age group. So I kind of changed it to make me a winner still, but I ended up second. And like I said, a little bit slower than last year. My run was 150, and my overall time was 5:32. I think I was 5:27 last year. So it was one of my slower St. George races, but I'm 53 now, and I felt really strong. I felt really amazing out there. So I had a great time. Love you, St. George. I will miss you like crazy. I hope one day to race there again, maybe a 70.3 World Championship race in 5 or 6 years, because I know they're kind of planned out until then already. But if you guys have any questions about the race, even though we're not doing it anymore, I've done it lots and lots of times. So hopefully I could be of service. And I appreciate you guys being here. All right. Have a great day. Bye.